Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and this is a property where we are trying to evict a tenant for missing rent, and that is not going to happen after we had our eviction hearing. So, kind of a tricky situation. We'll talk about what happened, why it happened, and show you some of the beautiful pictures of the complex before we fix it up as well. We also have another unit that will probably be moving out here soon, the big house over there. Their lease is expired, and we're not renewing it for a number of different reasons. Had quite a few issues. We also had a major storm here recently that we showed last week or the week before, and our roof is done. The roof is done, so we're getting insurance out to look at it. And you can see some of the paint was even knocked off the building where we don't have the awning. So, been exciting, that's for sure. All right, so this is the property when I first bought it, which did used to be a motel 100 years ago. And kind of a crazy property. It's been very interesting fixing it up. It was very interesting dealing with the tenants we had in it. This is where the 500 tire eviction was, and we had tenants getting in fights with each other and had to do, had squatters move into some properties. Luckily, they didn't actually stay there. They left. But we've had some fun here. And this is what one of the units looked like after we got it. And after we had gutted the unit to show just how bad this place was. So while you watch that, we'll talk about what happened with the eviction. So we had a tenant who got behind a month on rent, and they just didn't pay rent 1 month. And they said their bank account was hacked. What we're thinking happened is they gave away their bank account information to somebody. They might have taken their money. We're not sure. We're never given any information, any documentation about what actually happened. And they had tried to get us to set up automatic billing for them for rent. And one time they literally just gave us all their bank account information and said, here, can you please set this up for us? We're like, no, we don't want your bank information. Don't give that away to people. We have a property management software where you can set up auto payments and do it on there. So I'm guessing they just gave their information away to the wrong person, and that's what happened. I don't think, when you say a bank account is hacked, I think there's different things. Like the bank messes up, okay, you get that. But if you're just giving away your bank account information, that's not exactly someone hacking it. That's just you giving away your information and people taking your money. Again, I don't know what happened, pure speculation. But we tried to work with this tenant. We tried to set up a payment plan, do anything to get them caught up. At one point they said, hey, they can definitely, get some help. And then they just stopped responding to calls, texts, wouldn't work on getting caught up at all. But they're still paying rent the next month like nothing had happened. So, nice place, I tell you. What we ended up having to do is we posted a notice to pay or quit, which you have to do per Colorado law, and that kind of starts the eviction notice. But a lot of times it gets tenants' attention where, maybe we're not trying to actually do an eviction, but we post that notice, and they're like, oh, they're serious, maybe we better do something. So we posted that notice thinking, hey, maybe they'll know we're serious, they will start doing a payment plan, something. But no, they requested mediation. So in Colorado now, one of the new laws is if you get any kind of government assistance through housing or even Social Security, you have to do mediation before you can do an eviction. So that tenant requested mediation. We talked to them on the phone. We got it set up. We had the appointment all set to go. And they showed up to our office a day before the mediation, even though the mediation was an online appointment and she didn't need to come to our office. But they did anyway. Claimed they're here for the appointment, claimed they couldn't come to the real mediation appointment, even though they got email reminders, confirmations, all kinds of things, just playing games with us over and over again. So they didn't show up to the real mediation. I had to pay $100 for that. And the mediator was actually very nice and said, hey, this happens. You showed up. I sent her reminders. I talked to her. Here's your mediation papers, a certificate saying you tried, and it's not your fault, pretty much. So, we proceeded with the eviction, and I did a couple of videos on this thing. I really want to go to this hearing because we've had a couple hearings lately, including one for the real squatters we had at a different property, where the judge just gave them another hearing and let them stay for a month because they had nowhere to go, let alone the fact they had no lease, had not been making payments for anything, shouldn't have been there. The judge just said, no, we'll give you more time because you don't have anywhere to go. So I wanted to be there to explain the situation, what happened, and I have an attorney who does all our evictions for us. they had been calling, we'd been texting. We probably called them 4 or 5 times trying to get in touch with them, and they never told me when the hearing was. And they just went and did it on their own without letting us know. So I wasn't very happy about that. I'm not real happy with my attorney about that situation, but that's something else I'll have to deal with here eventually. So what the judge said at the hearing is, why didn't you accept? Well, the tenant also tried to pay rent. Sorry, skipping back one point. The tenant tried to pay rent after the mediation, after we'd gone through this process, the next month. And we did not accept it because that could reset the eviction, reset everything. The notice to pay or quit says they have to pay, the full amount owed by this date or it goes to eviction. So they came in after that date, tried to pay rent, which wasn't the full amount. And then they're just completely flabbergasted and couldn't understand why they couldn't pay rent and just keep continuing without, trying to work with us at all. So then we went to the hearing. I wish I went to the hearing. Our attorney went to the hearing, and the tenant filed some kind of paperwork, a dispute, saying they tried to pay rent, we wouldn't accept it. They tried to set up mediation, but the point was changed and they couldn't go to it. And I even was I checked we have cameras at the complex. I drove by there. Her car was there the whole time during mediation. So she just didn't want to go. And then the judge said, well, I'm confused as to what's going on because she says she tried to pay you guys and you wouldn't accept it. And I'm confused, why you guys do mediation correctly. And so basically the judge said, I'm going to set this for trial. And that's the last thing you want on an eviction hearing, is to go to trial, especially if I've got an attorney who I've got to pay, who knows how much that will cost. I've never gone to an eviction trial. And our attorney said, well, instead of going to trial, what if we, post or do an agreement where the tenant can catch up, pay everything and stay, and if they don't catch up by a certain date, they just leave. And so the judge said, that's fine with them. The tenant agreed. And so they had, I think it was 10 days to pay after that is how we set this up. And we agreed to it because we didn't want to go to a trial, and that was our only option. Who knows what will happen at trial? Who knows how much that will cost? And the tenant paid. Like a couple days later, the tenant went in, paid all the money, plus late fees, everything that was owed. And so apparently, I don't know if they just found the money or they had the money the whole time. Who knows? But now they're all caught up, and we still have our tenant. So we'll see how this keeps going. Hopefully they keep paying rent, and they know we're serious now, and they can't just not pay rent. It might have saved us a tiny, some money doing that, even if the eviction had been approved, because then we've got more vacant months. Who knows what happens if the tenant, stops paying completely, which usually is what happens, or if they trash the place. So in the end, at least monetarily wise, it probably worked out okay, although we still had to pay our attorney and the mediator for their time. Just the whole principle of it all bugs me quite a bit, and especially since they wouldn't work with us. We try to work with tenants. We work with tenants all the time. And this one, and they just thought they weren't going to have to pay a full month's rent. So that's the story. That's what happened. You can see how crazy the complex was when we bought it. It's so much better now. This is like the one weird little basement spot. But a lot of that electric and all that stuff isn't hooked up. It just looks really, really scary. So it has electric baseboard heat. It does not use this crazy old boiler. So that thing was, this property was insane. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, we have the house, which will be vacating here soon. We have to give 90 days notice to end someone's lease. It is on a month-to-month, but you still have to give that much notice. They wanted to stay too, but some of the issue, they keep trashing the laundry room. They keep bringing more animals on. This is the unit that had the ESA pet they brought on after the lease and caused a whole bunch of issues there. And we worked with them a little bit, and then they brought another dog and more people in, and they literally had some people just screaming at our contractors and plumbers when we tried to fix some stuff there. We have multiple people who won't go to that house and work on it because of them, although they said the one person left who was causing those issues. You never know. So that'll be an interesting one too. And this property's been interesting in general. All right, so that's the update. Of course, we'll have more updates if anything else happens with this tenant, and of course show the other unit once it's vacated and see how it looks. And we've got some other drama for tenants, as always. And then, of course, we'll have fun videos like collecting quarters from the laundromat and liquor store updates, which has drama too, and our commercial and rental properties as well. All right, thanks for watching. We'll be back soon.